Well, hello there, and welcome to Pop Live, episode I think like 25 or something crazy like that. Can't believe we're doing so many of these, but we are so excited because we have a special guest. Yay! For weeks we've been talking about having a special guest, and we keep like going, oops, made you look. But today we actually have him here ready in the wings, and we are so excited to bring him on. So he is none other than our fearless leader at Mental Health America, Hawaii, and a constant supporter and commenter on our lives here. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Bryan Talisayan. Hey!
Good afternoon.
Hey, Bryan.
Hello.
So you're actually in unfamiliar territory. Usually you're on the keyboards, and now you're actually on here in person.
Yes, so I hope I don't forget to talk.
Well, you look good. You look handsome. You look
Thank
refreshed,
you.
and everything going well.
Yes, everything is going awesome, actually. I'm still recovering from the event.
It feels like so.
But
The event was what, like 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
yeah, it's almost been a month. I think the 14th will be a month. It was the 14th, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it was
so.
the
Yeah.
14th.
Wow. So it feels like we had been
Super fast.
doing this for like in contact for like every day for like weeks, and then now that we haven't seen each other for several weeks, it's like, oh man, what's Bryan up to? I feel like I haven't talked to him in ages.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I got backed up on were emails. Like I wasn't, and I started getting caught up in everything, and like I actually am on emails from today.
Oh.
That's huge progress.
I'm right there with you. I still got like a week's worth in the can. That's in the queue.
Oh my gosh. Oh, literally in the can.
Yeah. They don't immediately go in there. We're not like yours. I think Jamie's checking on our stream quality. Looks like we're kind of like dipping in and out. Is that right, Jamie?
I can't tell what's going on, if it's working or if it's just the computer that's slow. Can you check it on something else?
Okay, so I'm gonna be doing something. So now's Jamie's chance to
No,
catch up
don't
with
look
you.
at it on this computer, because then you're putting more load on our computer.
Oh,
So
I was
look at
gonna
it.
go look at Restream.
No, look at it on your phone or something.
Okay.
Sorry, Bryan.
This is what you live for,
It's
Bryan.
okay. I see a lag.
Oh, you do?
Unfortunately, the
do?
lag happens whenever I look least attractive.
Oh, that is very unfortunate.
Yes,
I
I
don't know
agree.
if our computer is the problem.
It is us, because look at our feed is also slow too.
What's wrong with our internet?
I'm not sure. Let me go.
Oh, sorry, Bryan.
No
Can you do
problem.
a speed test? Well, but the key is that we can hear each other. So Bryan, just constantly look at the camera and smile so that when you're frozen, you still look good.
It's the chins that I can't get away from.
If you look up, it thins them out. So it always look like you're laughing like ha ha ha.
I saw in a thing you're supposed to put your chin forward, like jut it forward. What is happening? Oh, we're not plugged into power.
Not plugged into the internet.
Oh my God.
Oh no, we are plugged into the internet, and we are plugged into power.
Why is it saying the battery is running low? Is it not turned on? Oh, this is tragic.
Oh yeah. Okay, so did the battery thing go away?
Oh, we're just totally stuck now. I don't even know if
Our
Bryan
internet went
can
up.
hear us.
I can hear you still.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. It's just the image that is like garbled.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Like the sound is really good.
Oh, okay, there it came back.
Okay, now we're good, and now
Was-
Bryan's not frozen. Oh, he's catching up.
Well,
What's
going on?
happening? It's
I'm catching up. That's so creepy.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
That was creepy. Yeah, totally.
Oh
It's
my
still
God.
going.
Oh my
Wow,
God.
we're trying to catch up.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. What did we
That's
do to
so
him? I'm so
strange.
sorry.
for someone who was commenting endlessly about how you felt uncomfortable, how you appeared on camera
Yeah,
during the live stream, we
yeah,
just totally like tripled it right here.
yeah. My massive securities are
Oh,
coming back.
oh my God.
What if we make it? What if we jump to
Do you want to?
out of to a single shot of us and then back to him? Let's see
Okay,
if
you
that
want to
helps.
try?
I know, Brian. Can you disconnect and then reconnect again? And
Yeah.
then I think
Yeah,
that'll
yeah.
show.
Same link.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
same
yeah,
Uh,
link.
yeah. Okay,
okay,
okay, okay, okay, okay.
awesome.
Sorry,
Oh my
Brian.
God, this is
Uh,
the worst thing ever.
and sorry to any of you who are watching. This is this is
Oh
not
my
any
God.
kind of indication of how we run things when we're working for other people, just for
We
ourselves.
just don't even pay attention to ourselves. Oh,
Yeah,
is he back? I think he's back.
that was
Yeah,
fast.
I'm
Are
back,
you back? Oh,
Yay! And now
yay!
you're no longer.
and I'm real time this
Oh
time,
my.
Yeah.
That's so
mostly
weird.
anyway.
Okay. Well,
Oh my
that was our
God.
fault. We apparently forgot to plug in our computer into the wall. But we thankfully we didn't have this problem when we did your event. So, but we'll talk
Yes.
about your event. I know you got a lot of work to do, so let's just jump
Yeah.
into it. Can you share with us
Awesome.
about the event that you had prior to doing it virtual? So, what was it in
Sure.
its first inception and the purpose, and how did you put on your event?
So it was actually a couple of events that we combined into one this year. Last year, we skipped both of them, but historically, we would have a Mental Health Awareness Day, which is typically at the Capitol during legislative season. Um, and it's kind of like to promote mental health awareness to our lawmakers. They were the target audience of that event. And not just mental health awareness, but to share with them, all the amazing stuff that we and our partners are doing in the community in regards to mental health. So it was a huge partnership. There was multiple organizations that we would take over one of the conference rooms at the Capitol and have like activities or kind of like a health fair, sort of like that kind of format. In addition to that, we would also have each year around the same time the Mahalo Awards luncheon, and that luncheon has been going on for many, many years, where we would gather at the Ala Moana Hotel, and for a couple of hours we'd have lunch, we'd have people coming in and watching their friends get awards, and it was basically recognizing mental health heroes, is what we would call them. Um, Recognizing them for their work and their contribution to mental health advocacy, mental health treatment, and all that stuff. So during the pandemic, we had to cancel both,
Hmm.
of course, and the Mahalo Awards is also our largest fundraising event each year. So we lost out on that funding stream for that year. And this year, when February came around, January is kind of ending. I still wasn't sure what we would be doing for the event. It was clear that in-person activities are going to be extremely limited, even though it was still 5 to 6 months out. Even if in-person events were not limited, I think a lot of people would still be very hesitant in coming to a large event like that because there would typically be about 300 people who would attend the Mahalo Awards luncheon. Um, so early on this year, we checked in with Trisha Kajimura. She's the former executive director at Mental Health America of Hawaii. Before I made it better. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She's amazing. Uh,
Well, she's
our
not here
wonderful.
to defend herself, so yeah,
She's not here.
let's go with that.
Uh, but she and I checked in, and she was at Sutter Health Kahimala at the time, and they're a great partner of our organization, and they also ended up being the title sponsor of this year's event. So that's kind of how we got to this point. We checked in and said, let's combine the two. Both are very important events to the community and for advancing mental health awareness. And from there on, we kind of just started the planning and ended up with what we had on May 14th.
So before you went ahead and decided, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, what were the reasons why you were willing to make it, go virtual, and what were some of the things that you were hesitant about that prevented you from maybe doing it earlier on virtually?
Sure. So there was a lot of planning that went into the process, and we knew as early as February, I think, that we weren't going to be doing anything in person. But we just needed to kind of like come up with the logistics because, like I mentioned, the Mahalo Awards is our largest fundraising event, and
Right.
I wanted to make sure that we could generate sufficient fundraising through the virtual event without charging people because I wanted it was very important for me that people could attend the event for free.
Mm.
And I think I've shared with you folks before that mental health awareness is at the forefront like it's never been before.
Yeah.
And having access to something like this at no cost was important to me. So we need to figure out a way where we could afford a service and the speakers um, and still bring this at no charge to people. Because with the Mahalo Awards, we'd have people coming in, they'd be buying lunch tickets, they'd be making other contributions, and we had corporate sponsorships as well. So we ended up being able to. I just figured, you know what, I'm going to make it happen with whatever corporate sponsorships that we can get, and just if necessary, kind of find a way to eat the costs. Um, Sorry, I don't even remember what your question was, Nolan.
No.
But we didn't do it earlier because May was Mental Health Awareness Month, so that was a bigger part of it. But the planning was pretty intense as well.
Hmm.
Um, and as we were going through the process at looking for um, different platforms and companies that could help us provide this in a virtual format, of course, we knew you folks from HanoCon of last year, and we were really excited by how you folks did at HanoCon, and so it was a really easy choice to kind of partner with you folks in that sense.
And we're super grateful for that because that gave us a chance to get to know you and get to be a part of a really awesome event. And and now I have even more connection to you with being a part of the mental health microvoyant
Absolutely.
team. So that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that
We have a
initially,
meeting on June 18th, by the
yeah,
way. Just
we just went over our calendar.
He
So
knows.
yeah,
okay.
I was like, ooh, it's our first meeting. It's like the first day of school. Like, oh no, I'm nervous. What should I
Yeah.
wear? But you're mentioning that, initially you're just thinking as far as the cost, like how you were going to be able to handle it without having to divulge, like, if the money you made and stuff. Did it end up happening the way you anticipated? Either you made enough or you didn't make enough. Like, how did
We
that turn
did.
out for you?
We did. So we ended up meeting budget. So
Oh,
earlier
great.
or late last year, I budgeted for an in-person fundraising event. So our net was very similar to what that would have looked like, and also very similar to the event in 2019. So it
Oh,
wasn't
great.
significantly different. The only difference is that we relied much more heavily on corporate sponsorships, and we also had a lot of individual sponsors. A lot of them were from my board, actually, and also some other organizations who created individual sponsorships for their staff. One of them is our accounting firm, Accumulus. So it was just really, really nice. It's um, something that I was not expecting that
Hmm.
we would have a positive net after all of the expenses and the fact that we actually did is pretty amazing to me. And I think that bespeaks to the generosity of our wellness champions and our sponsors who are very committed to mental health.
Do you think it's just like kind of an anomaly because it was like, oh, this is during the pandemic, and you know, this one time we'll support in this way, or is it something that you feel like just by the reactions that you got that maybe it's something like the trend because you mentioned mental health is at such a forefront of
Sure.
society right now that maybe it's just more of the way things are trending as in that more people corporate sponsorships and whatnot see the need and necessity to support events like this.
Sure. Oh, I like to think it's because I did a good job. But yes, I think a lot of the bulk of our sponsors are actual historical sponsors.
Mm,
We did have a couple of new sponsors in there that hadn't sponsored before. But I think a lot of it, even though that historically they have sponsored our Mahalo Awards, I think the fact that mental health awareness aspect of it was so vital to the organizations, and understanding that it's been impacted as a result of the pandemic is definitely a motivating factor in agreeing to become a sponsor. And I think as a result of the pandemic, we haven't even seen the full brunt of the mental health aspect. I think that's still to come. I think a lot of times in situations like this, well, I don't even know about situations like this, but during the pandemic, uh, we see a lot of people who are struggling, but there's mitigating circumstances like stimulus money and mass food distributions and enhanced unemployment benefits. Those things are going to go away soon, but people are still going to be struggling. So there's, I think, a lot of people are aware of a pending potential mental health crisis, and I think that helps with the contribution factor of that.
And as far as other things that you were concerned with, as far because this was your first time going virtual with producing an event like this, were there other things going into planning and putting it together that you were concerned with that maybe what other people, other organizations who are thinking of doing a virtual event, a virtual conference, might also share those same kind of things? And did it come true or
Sure.
did it not come true?
Yeah. I think in many, many ways, an in-person event feels so much simpler to me.
Mm-hmm.
And only because there's a lot of anxiety that goes into planning a virtual event. Like, I spent 3 weeks paranoid about whether or not our internet would go down or our power would go
Oh man,
down. And,
yeah.
even throughout the day, I'm like, oh my God, like, how can we maintain? I mean, we have good power and relatively good internet. So, but it's just, if the electricity goes out, the entire event's done,
Yeah.
and so it's just those types of things that I think anyone would probably be concerned or have a little bit of
Yeah.
anxiety towards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think going into this, when we first started working with you folks, um, there's a lot of unknowns for us because,
Mm-hmm.
again, we've never done anything like this. We still didn't fully understand the platform. So I think, as long as there's a lot of communication and the platform, because the platform was also new to you folks, or
Mm-hmm.
relatively new to you folks. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of learning for both of us, and of course, half the time the bitter side of me is like, well, that's not my problem. But but I did totally understand that this was a huge new experience as much as it was for you folks, it was for us. Um, but yeah, so I think just the general anxieties of making sure everything goes well, um, you know, accepting the unknowns, knowing that there are going to be unknowns, and just embracing them as opposed to being paranoid about them, is probably a huge lesson learned for me because I'm very, very much the kind of person that I don't dwell in the unknown at all. Like, I want to know exactly what's going to happen, like
Mm-hmm.
I want to know exactly what the sponsor page is going to look like, exactly what the vendor page, whatever, and I think in a virtual format, there has to be a little bit more flexibility than I typically am used to with an in-person event.
And it's funny because as a person with anxiety, I live in the unknown, and it's painful. So uh,
Yes, yeah,
it's like, well,
definitely.
that's all I do is
Well,
put myself in that position. It's like, ah, why do I
no,
do this?
absolutely, and that's what the unknown is, right? Is the
Yeah,
unknown is that source of anxiety, and I've lived with anxiety since I was in my early 20s. So I definitely know that, and which is why not dwelling in the unknown is very important to me because it's
yeah.
it's part of me managing my anxiety disorder. But I tend to be much higher anxiety than the average person, maybe. But but yeah, so it's the unknown is something that was a very positive learning objective for me or outcome for me.
I'm so glad you mentioned that though, because we I don't think we even I mean it makes so much sense that you were concerned about those technical things like
Yeah.
what it will look like, will the power go out, what about the internet
Yes.
Yeah,
speed? Those are things that we are constantly worried about, but it makes sense that you, the client, the one
Also is
putting it,
thinking
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
yeah,
And what we usually talk to or hear about from clients is like, oh, the live in-person event it's so much work and so much manpower. So, we just think, oh, well, then virtual is less, less of a
Yeah,
problem. But you're right. When you think of it this way, there's a lot more to think about, and that it's
yeah,
not as simple as like, oh, virtual is easier because there's less people involved, less stuff
yeah.
that you have to worry about. Actually, there's just different stuff you got to worry about.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot less control involved with and I think that's something that's not as easy for me to do too is not having full control of how everything's going. Like if I were to able to just let you folks do your job, and be confident that you're gonna do it, then it would have probably been a little bit simpler for me. But I think the biggest a driving factor in me having those kinds of insecurities was because the app was so new, the platform
Yeah.
was so new,
Yeah.
and even up to just 2 or 3 weeks before the event, we weren't even sure what the sponsor page would look like, and whereas in an in-person event, that's taken care of months in advance.
Yeah.
Like it's just you create a program, print it out. Oh, good, this is done.
Right.
And then, the day comes, you're there, you eat some food and you do your speech and everything. Like there's just so much more control involved in that. And, I think even after more than a year of everything being virtual, there was just still so many insecurities or potential for technology to fail us. And I think that's where the bulk of the concern came from. And it wasn't even really concern, it was more frustration and insecurities and paranoia
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Were there things that you, after finishing with this event, that you felt as far as the experience goes, not necessarily putting on and producing it, but as far as the experience that you were able to give to the viewers, that you missed that in person did that virtual didn't?
No, I think so. Like with the chat, I think it's even more engaging in a virtual format because
Hmm.
the attendees are able to interact directly with the presenter. If the presenter chooses to look at the chat, and he or she or they can also see the donuts and the hearts going up, which is very motivating. So I see the hearts and the donuts and all that stuff as looking at across the live audience and people nodding or smiling. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the feedback that a lot of people depend on, like myself. I have presented it 500 people in person, no problem at all. But talking to your camera was incredibly hard for me. It's like, and there's just so much to remember too. It's like there's Jamie and Nolan talking, and then there's Brooke pointing at me. It's like, does that mean it's me? Like, do I go? Okay. And then at the same time, I'm trying to focus on the monitor and whether it's green or red, and there's just a lot going on. Like I could never be a newscaster or anything like that. Um, but I think the fact that it's interactive, and it was very different from the HanoCon because they had a couple of apps that they were using, but um, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I did think that the chat features is huge as far as having that chat option um, during the live portion of it is really important and makes people feel very engaged. And I really like that part of it a lot.
For you, was there something, because you got to not only produce it but actually experience it as well, and in the speeches and whatnot, was there anything in particular about this event that you felt was really something that you could imagine was able to be accomplished because it was virtual versus in person, or vice versa? It would have been better if it was in person.
I I well, I've never been to your in-person event, so I can't
Mm.
compare, but I felt like listening to the speakers, it was super very personal. Like I was starting to cry so many times, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I would get that in a ballroom. Like I think cuz
Mm,
cuz my view of the person speaking is so close up and intimate that I think
yeah.
even if they said the same thing on a stage with that distance, I wouldn't see all of their facial expressions in the way that I saw it on the
Yeah.
screen. So there was
Yeah.
so much that was like Oh, I'm getting chicken skin now thinking about some
Yeah.
of the speakers, but it was so personal that I don't know. Um, I don't
I
know that.
noticed that too, Jamie. That's actually a good point because, I think like at an in-person event, if I'm an attendee and not having to work or anything like that, there's so many distractions, and I spend
Yeah,
a lot of time on my phone, checking email, like, that as well. So there's a device issue at an in-person event, whereas this event, the virtual event, was the device. So you paid
yeah.
attention. You totally paid attention, and um, yeah, that's a really good point. I did think about that. I mean, you worded it much better than I could have, but it's definitely much more powerful. Well, I don't want to say much more powerful because there's some great experiences in person
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
But I think it's much easier to keep people focused in a live. I mean, there's also some virtual events where I just have it playing in the background and I'm doing other
Right.
stuff, but I think this is also where the chat comes into play is having them engage there or pushing the donut button repeatedly um, makes people pay attention, I guess. But yeah, it did seem a little bit more powerful in the virtual format than it would have in person.
Yeah, and just that we have some viewers. So if any of you viewers have any questions that you have for Bryan or us, please throw it in the comment section. In fact, Linda Ho is here. Hi, Linda.
she's going back to work.
Oh, okay. She just
She
wanted to
just
say hi.
says hi and thank you. She said thank you.
Oh, but yeah, feel free to ask us, ask Bryan questions because we made sure we told him like, which he doesn't need to be told this, but we said just say whatever
He doesn't
you're
need to be told
honest.
that.
Yeah, this isn't about like promoting us at all. If you felt we did a terrible job or could have done better, like just say it because this is to give people an honest look and experience. But yeah,
I
from
will.
the comments.
Definitely know I will.
As far as the attendance and the feedback you got from your attendees, what was that like for you? Because I think a lot of people when they are planning a virtual or converting to a virtual event, they're always concerned like how many people are going to show up, like will we get as many, we usually expect this much. So for you, what was kind of the outcome for you as far as attendance and their experience from the feedback you got?
Sure. I think I was trying to keep track throughout the event, and I think at the highest point there was like 129 people um, logged in at once. Well, watching the live stream anyway, or the live portion of it. And I think that's amazing. We had over 220 people, I think, register. Maybe it was even closer to 250 people who registered. But there were a lot of people who registered just to be sure they could get the recordings, especially for the teachers and students that were friends of the Hikino awardees, the Student Voice awardees. A lot of them were in school at the time, so it wasn't surprising to me that we had much more people register than we did have in the actual live aspect of it. Um, so yeah, we had great attendance. I think something that I'm noticing is because even prior to just a couple of weeks prior to our event, I was participating in the planning of another event that was also virtual, and what we're learning is that unlike last year, people aren't stuck in front of their computers as much as they were just a few months ago. So it's easy for people to step away and come back, during different portions of the agenda or itinerary. So I think a lot of people did that, knowing that there would be recordings, and I think the recording is a huge benefit of virtual events because a lot of times keynote speakers in a live event you don't actually get to hear it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great that you folks were able to provide us with a recording, which I was able to create segments on my own
Ooh, look at you.
somehow. I don't even know if I could do it again, um, but yeah. So yeah, the attendance was great. Was great.
Oh, good. And for those segments that you use, so are you we just so people know, like this is actually
Sure.
like the first time we are talking with Bryan about this. So it's not like I know any of the answers and I'm just like, here, go
Yeah.
ahead and talk about this part that we know you did well. And, like this is all new to us too. So Don't think I'm just like fishing for like, remember what you said earlier? Say that again. But for when you made the segment, so basically you're taking like different speeches or presentations throughout the
Yeah,
show.
so instead of having that full 4 hour video, which is also on our YouTube channel, if
Hmm.
someone did want to replay the entire 4 hour portion, I just broke it down by agenda items. So the first keynote is one segment, the first section of awardees is one segment. So by segment, I just meant specific areas of the agenda.
Gotcha.
And you folks had agreed to do that for us, but it would have been a couple of weeks before you folks were able to get to it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work for me, then I can definitely wait for you folks. Um, so there was no editing at all. It was just really just I typed the video into my Windows 10 machine, and an editor came up, and I saw a crop button. So I cropped, and I kept cropping and kept cropping,
Awesome.
and now we have a YouTube playlist that we share. So,
Wow.
um,
I just love that you
but
called
yeah,
it the Windows 10 machine.
yeah.
And has it have the segmented videos gotten good use out of them? Like, have you
I
noticed?
haven't checked. So we just finished it maybe a week and a half ago or
Oh,
so.
okay.
And we just sent it out recently in our email blast. So I haven't checked what the viewership looks like. But on our Facebook, so I'm going to be posting different segments in our
Hmm.
social media. Like I recently posted Patrick Kennedy's keynote
Ooh, that was so
there, and
good.
I think that one was, yeah, that was great. I think that one's getting some really good engagement on Facebook, and it's only been, I think it was like Friday when I did that.
Oh,
So
wow. So not even a week then.
not even a week, yeah, not even a week.
That's awesome that so I think that's something that we don't even think about, with the in-person event, like when it happens, it's done. There's no going
Yeah,
back to it. But with these virtual events, like people like yourself are getting really creative in what is it? Like not recycling, but repurposing, the
repurposing.
content. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's really awesome that it's creating more engagement and interaction on your social medias and stuff. That's awesome.
exactly,
For
exactly.
for people who are, planning similar events like yours, like turning their conference virtual and stuff, what do you wish that you would have known, or what could you tell them that you think, oh, this would be really helpful for them to either help them understand or help them better prepare, or or maybe even determine if going virtual is a viable option for them, because maybe it turns out, through your experience, there might be uh, an audience that's like, this actually wouldn't work well for you. Like, what would you say
Sure.
to people like that?
It's hard to tell. I would definitely say make it shorter. Ours was 4 hours long, and I think that's too long for a virtual event. Now, like if it were 6 months ago, I think it would have been perfect because people were much more limited
Hmm.
back then. So I think if it's going to be 4 hours, it would definitely require like an hour lunch break in between or a half hour lunch break in between where people can actually refresh, as opposed to just a quick mindfulness break.
Hmm.
Other than that, I think everything would be very specific to the unknowns of the platform that were resolved as we went along the way, and I think um, I would definitely recommend a virtual format for many conferences, and I think it's going to be a long time before people are in general very comfortable with large group settings. Um, so I think virtual events are going to be around probably indefinitely, at least some sort of hybrid version of it, where you have a live conference and a virtual aspect to that from a different location or whatever the case might be. So I do think if organizations are planning an event, that a virtual aspect to it, if not fully virtual, should definitely be on the agenda for discussion. But beyond the timing and the very detailed unknowns, I don't think there's anything that I would discourage people from going into a virtual format for the event, and it's very specific to their audience. Obviously, if it's event targeting people that don't have internet access, then
Mm.
virtual format's probably not going to be good for them.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think I definitely would encourage people to participate in mostly, if not some hybrid version of virtual format.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Did you have any questions? I always don't give her a chance to talk, so I'm just gonna put you on
I
the
kind of
spot
feel like she prefers it that way, though. Like,
until I
yeah.
don't do it, and then she like complains after we get off. Like I just get so
No,
bored because you don't let me
it's
say
just when
anything.
you just started talking and then you talk for like 15 minutes and then you're like, what do you have to say? And I have nothing to say because you said it already.
Don't you miss this, Brian?
Not at all. I did miss the last couple of weeks worth of lives because of
Oh, thank
catching up
goodness.
on stuff.
They're pretty brutal.
They're bad.
Aw.
So you've brought us back up. Like,
Oh,
thank you.
good. I think, throughout the whole thing, speaking to Jamie, one of the opportunities for improvement would be, I think Jamie needs help in the technical aspect. I think Brooke was very, very helpful. But I think Jamie's trying to monitor everything that's happening live, and people are going around asking her for Zoom links. And, so I think, I think everything worked out wonderful, but I think if there's an event that's about our size or a little bit larger, I think Jamie would definitely need some help in that technical aspect of it, because she's doing
That's a
everything
great
that
point.
doesn't involve talking
Yeah.
or being in front of the camera, and after I saw you folks set up the whole CNN newsroom, um, I didn't realize, because I just imagine she would be at a laptop, and there'd be one or two cameras, but it's so much more involved. It's not just monitoring the actual live presentations, but making sure the speakers are on live. And then if anyone needs help, like the creating a Zoom link for one of the um, breakouts, she couldn't do it because she would have to cancel the live portion of it just so that she could create a Zoom link. So I think having someone there that could take over those other tiny details where she has the like Brooke's amazing, but she's not technical. She was great at coordinating everything
Yeah.
else. She was a lot of fun too, actually. Um, but everything else was pretty much dependent on Jamie.
Yeah.
I think so. If it's going to be a larger event, then she would definitely need some help there.
That is super helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we don't think about it till after, and it's like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
we
I
don't
think
realize how much
because
work
this was
she's doing.
our first conference with Obvio, because all that the Zoom stuff that was all because I think when
Obvio.
it's just the live stream by itself, then I can manage it. But then the adding on the Obvio part with the
Like
Zoom
two
stuff,
different platforms at the same
it just
time.
Yeah.
required another computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're free, Brian, and you want a new job, we could bring you on for future events
Yeah.
as our tech guy.
Sure. I'll send you
We'll
my
set you up
link.
with the Windows 10 machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Windows 10 machine with 2 monitors. Because I like to have Discovery Plus playing on the second.
Well, before we let you go, I would love to give you an opportunity to share with others what your organization is doing, for those who might not be familiar with Mental Health America Hawaii, and any upcoming events or any ways that people can get involved. So yeah, share with us a
Sure.
little bit about the organization.
Awesome. So we are going to be 80 years old
Oh my
next year.
gosh. Wow.
We are the state's leading advocacy organization, and well, we describe ourselves as a training, advocacy, education organization. Throughout the pandemic, we pivoted significantly and focused a lot on resilience and wellness-based trainings, virtual trainings. We don't have any events coming up until probably later towards October, November-ish. But if people want to reach out and see what we're doing, they can check out our website at mentalhealthhawaii.org. If they have questions, they can email us at info@mentalhealthhawaii.org, or they can call me directly at 808-521-1846.
So for these trainings and such, what type of groups or people or organizations are you helping with these trainings?
Everyone. So the trainings are open to the public.
Mm-hmm.
We have a whole training suite, and they can be found on our social media too. Our Facebook has a lot of the events where we create events for the trainings. We are doing general community. We also have catered trainings where if there's an organization that wants to provide a specific training to their employees or their constituents, then we do that as well. Some of our trainings are more targeted to youth, like we have a youth suicide and bullying prevention curriculum that we do for public and private schools. But we also have an adult suicide prevention training. We do youth and adult mental health first aid, and probably I think there's maybe another additional 10 to 12 trainings that we offer. And right now everything's available virtually, and just check the events on our Facebook for the next coming one.
I think that's amazing that you're doing it all virtually because I think it's spreading your reach and more people
It
can be
definitely
exposed to
has.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. In 2020, we actually provided almost 300% more
Oh,
trainings
wow.
than when compared to
Holy cow.
2019. Yeah. Some of our trainings took a little bit longer for us to do, like the suicide prevention trainings, because they're such sensitive topics. We wanted to make sure that, we created a version that was safe to provide virtually. And we're seeing continued demand this year. I think we already are up to almost 3,500 people trained through May of this year. So
Incredible. Wow. Well, congratulations and thank you to you and your incredible team. I know you have like a small but extremely mighty team, and getting to work
yeah,
with them we just think the world of them. So thanks to you and your team for doing all this necessary work. And for those looking, you can see you can follow them on Facebook right there at MHA Hawaii. It's super easy to find. And any last words or thoughts? I feel like this last words is a terrible term. Anything else you want
um,
to say before we let you go?
there's nothing. I appreciate you folks. It was really great being able to work with you folks, and the patience that you instilled in me during my tantrums and all that. But
Well,
But no, I really, it was a really great experience to do this event virtually, and I can't wait for our next one to be in a very similar format as well.
well, thank you for being kind and patient with
Yeah.
us. Like I told you viewers out there, we hadn't actually really talked much after the event, and I knew that Brian would be totally honest, and I was a little nervous. I was like, we may find out some things that he was not pleased with us, and everyone will know about it. But thank you for being so kind and
My plan was to
trusting
come
us.
in on this live a little bit late and say, I'm sorry I'm late, but I got here as soon as I wanted to. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
uh, well, we love and appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this,
thank
and
you.
we can't wait to do more with you. And I'll
Yes,
see you
for
in a few
sure.
weeks at the meeting.
Yes, absolutely. Have a wonderful rest of your week, folks.
You
You too.
too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Brian. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was awesome. I can breathe a sigh of relief. I seriously was like, I'm not sure if he's gonna be upset or happy with us.
Oh no.
I'm assuming he was. I assumed he would be happy with us because, I mean, for the most part, when after the event was over, we had such, a nice conversation after and emails and such. But you never know, right? Like, it's Hawaii. You hold in the things that you're upset with till later on and let it boil over after. But I really was stoked about being able to hear different perspectives that he brought in, things that we hadn't thought of.
I didn't think
Yeah.
that he would be worried about the power and the internet like that.
And it's funny
That's
because
so stressful.
we were kind of worried about the internet speed,
Yeah.
because when we did a test on it, we're like, ooh, this is not ideal speed. Like we should have a higher internet speed. And he's like, oh, okay, well then I'll just call Spectrum and we'll take care of it. And
Yeah,
he
he
seemed
was
so
so
calm and
mellow
cool.
about it
To hear that he was like worried about it
for
internally.
3 weeks.
So
Yeah.
that's a testament to how good of a poker face he has. But I also thought I love what you were saying too about the connection to the speakers. I didn't even think about that because, I come from the world of live events where I'm the MC
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on stage, and I miss that energy of being able to feel the audience's reactions. But on the opposite
Yeah.
side, you as the audience, it makes sense that your experience
'Cause you're always backstage, or
Yeah.
like you're right next to the person talking, so you can see them.
Mhm.
But I'm usually hiding in the back of the room, so I just see like this little dot of a person behind a podium, like really far away.
Yeah. So that was really neat. I'm so glad that, Bryan was willing to share all that with us because
Yeah.
it definitely gave us better perspective. And I think he made a great point about us having people in position or staff in position to support you during the,
There
when
were
doing
so
those
many
things.
things that came up, I think, during the event because of the platform that I didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
So that was rough.
But Emmett's here. Speaking of rough. But
I don't know where he's trying to go.
he's probably going to go do the things that you get upset with him doing when he's on your lap. Oh no, you know what he was? He wanted to go in his bed, but his sister Nato is in his bed. So now he's just looking for another place to
I
lay.
can take this off now.
Oh yeah, we're no longer needing to be tethered. But I was gonna say, but the cool part is for the majority of the audience, they didn't know that it was rough. Like from the response, it sounded like they got a great experience. So unfortunately for the organizers and those who we were trying to work on those issues with, they knew what was going on. But really appreciate Bryan and his team for giving us that chance and trusting in us and letting us make those minor well, not so minor, but go through those things. Anything else? Linda said that she's going to rewatch later, which is awesome because Linda, if you are rewatching this and you're at this point, thank you for supporting and watching. But I think that also plays to the fact that everything's so on demand now. And I love that what Bryan and them are doing with.
Yeah, that's very
that.
cool. And that's really smart because the
Yeah.
sections of that program, they really did do a good job with who they brought on and I don't know, it was just a really good conference, I thought.
Yeah.
And that's not my field. Like I don't know anything about that stuff.
That's a great point because for the audience that it was built for, you would think that someone on the outside would just be like, oh.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't understand anything they're
Yeah.
saying.
But if you have a chance to go check out their
Yeah, you
Facebook
can
page
watch
and
it.
watch it, like the one that they just posted that he mentioned, is it Senator Kennedy or Representative Kennedy? I think it's Senator, right?
I don't
Well,
remember.
Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy.
That was one of the most powerful like presentations or talks because he went so great into detail about just his personal, like raw personal experiences and emotions and stuff. And I feel like that was a great example of what you guys were talking about how having this type of platform allows more of a personal and open, I guess, comfortability to talk.
Is comfortability a word?
I don't know,
You
but I've been
use
using it
all the
like
time,
a lot.
and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna Google it. But wait, I was looking up their YouTube.
Oh, okay. Which is
So they're-
MHAOF Hawaii. MHA of Hawaii.
Yeah, MHA of Hawaii, and they have their.
Oh, they
it's
have
on
several.
there.
Yeah, they have several.
He said he made a playlist.
Oh, that's right. I thought
So
because of the face. I'm talking about the Facebook.
Facebook,
Yeah.
but their conference playlist is on their YouTube.
Yeah.
MHA of Hawaii. And now I'm gonna look up if comfortability is a word.
I'm really nervous. I hope it is.
Comfortability.
Oh,
Comfortability meaning.
come on. I think. Oh,
It's on yourdictionary.com.
uh,
Macmillan Dictionary blog.
Wiktionary. Which sounds pretty
It's
legit.
not even Wikipedia. Dictionary.com has comfortable definitions of comfortable.
Right is comfortability of word.
That is on Reddit, and I'm looking at it now. I'm getting mixed answers. I use it as a word. Is it a word?
Seems like a relatively newer term.
Will probably be in the dictionary soon.
If not already.
If
In many.
not.
In many. I think that whether it's a real word or not, it's commonly used enough where it's, used. So, and people know what the meaning behind it should be.
I don't approve of that word.
Let's throw it up to you, Linda, and the rest of you.
If anybody is watching.
Who votes that I should still be able to continue to use the word comfortability, or who votes no?
It's in
don't
the
use
Urban
anymore?
Dictionary.
Which is way more legit to me because that's what the words on the streets are. I gotta talk like how the audience that I'm trying to reach. That's
You
my
are
people
not
are
trying
in
to reach
urban
the
America.
audience that uses Urban Dictionary. Those are the people that we work with are people that need to Google these words and then they find it in the Urban Dictionary.
All right.
Like me.
Well, let's put it to a vote. Yes, if you think I can still use it. No, if I need to stop using the word comfortability. I feel like no votes will come in, but please give us a vote. Yes or no. What's the face for?
I don't even know what yes or no meant again already.
Yes means yes. Nolan used comfortability as a word. No means Nolan
Don't
stop.
use it.
Don't
Stop.
use it. Yes, no. All right. And with that, we are going to get out of here. And we thank you for joining us. We
Thank
really
you,
appreciate Brian
Bryan.
for hanging out with us. And if there are other topics or other questions that you want to ask, or even if you want us to ask Brian, like if you are watching this on the replay and you're like, oh, you should have asked him this, throw it up in the comment section and we'll ask him and see if he'll give us an answer. I'm sure he will. But are we going to put that up next?
The end screen?
Oh, that's what the end screen is?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to stay in touch with us and join our email newsletter list, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out the web address that we will be pulling up right here as we send ourselves off. And Jamie goes, oh no, I'm uncomfortable. And says these things out loud that we shouldn't be hearing. Bye.